All right, I'm going to give it just another minute. I wasn't expecting too many people to jump on today just because I didn't advertise this one as or market it as much because I don't know if you guys remember, but I've had a little bit of an issue with my sound quality over the past few weeks. So I didn't want to bite off more than I can chew. Okay, so I'm going to get started. This is the second part of our gorilla series. And today it's all about finding an old gorilla. I know that sounds crazy, but I will tell you, like my pastor tells me every Sunday when he throws a whole bunch of stuff at us all at once, and he says, I promise when I paint this picture for you, it's going to all make sense and you're going to get it and you're going to be like, I understand why she was talking about trust and all the other things. So just stick with me. And even if you have to go back and watch the previous video from last week, because I did redo it, I encourage you to do that. You will get something out of it. My name is Kim Anderson. If you don't know me, I'm sorry. That's on you, not me. So again, today is the second part in our gorilla series. And the first one was all about marketing basics. And again, not everybody knows this, but I forgot to plug in the microphone last week, and I sounded like I was Charlie Brown's teacher the entire time. Like, rah, rah, rah. So this time I made sure I plugged it in and that the other end is actually plugged into the microphone. So we're good to go. Today we're talking about finding an old gorilla, and then next week it's actually becoming a gorilla, and that will all make sense very, very shortly. But today we're going to talk about what is a mentor, an old gorilla, the perfect match for you, and popping the question, not asking someone to marry you, but asking someone to help mentor you, to help guide you. What your role is when you are being mentored, what are who some old gorillas are in our neck of the woods, and networking. And you'll see why it all makes sense soon. So what is mentoring? So when I talk about old gorillas, this is the reason why I call it an old gorilla. According to Bert Thornton, the author of Find an Old Gorilla, a mentor is someone who will help guide you through the social, political, and cultural and spiritual aspects of your life and business. In some cases, the mentor you seek out might be to help with a specific issue, or it might be that you need several mentors. It might be that you've never even met the person that you are getting successful mentorship from. So a mentor can look a lot of different ways, but in general, it's going to be someone who helps navigate through the jungle. So old gorilla, young gorilla, old gorilla's been through all the ways that are dangerous through the jungle and knows how to guide you. You can either accept that advice and end up where they ended because you sought their advice and you did those things, or you can not, and you can end up just roaming around the jungle. So moving on. So how to find the perfect mentor, and there are some statistics there that talk about mentorship, and I'm not going to read those, but I will tell you that I have never met a successful person who could not pinpoint people in their lives that helped them get to where they are. You just can't do it alone, and that's the reason. That's the importance of having a mentor and having at least one person to help guide you through everything. But how do you find that perfect match for you? And this is what that's all about. So first you have to know what your goals are, right? And they need to be SMART goals. And if you're familiar with what SMART goals are, they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So I'm sure you guys have heard about SMART goals before, but that's what they are. You need to have those, and you need to have those for long-term and short-term. What do you want to accomplish professionally in the next 3 months, in the next 3 years, in the next in the next 5 years? What does that time frame look like for you? Is it that you want to hit 5 million in GCI in 1 year or over a 5-year period of time? What are those goals? And when you find out those goals, you can align yourself. The first part, you can find someone who's already achieved those goals so that you can ask for what their success story is. You're going to ask yourself who you look up to right now. Who is your immediate role model in the industry? keep that running list, whether it's in a notebook, whether it's you tattoo it on your arm, whatever. Keep that running list of people that you visualize, like I could do it the way they're doing it. And even consider as you're making this list, consider people at your own brokerage or even another brokerage. Don't be afraid just because you feel like you have your cake and eat it too at the brokerage that you're at, that someone else who's been successful is not going to want to help you. That's not the case. Well, apparently I have a meeting. There we go. And you're the meeting. So, and you want to find someone who is specifically is, that you would feel comfortable talking to about an issue. And especially if you feel maybe even underrepresented in our industry. And if you are, then you're going to know what that means. And if you aren't, then you're like, I have no idea what she's talking about. So don't worry about it. And also, you're going to want to do the research. You're going to want to ask relevant questions and take notes. And my pastor always says, the note takers are the history makers. And I find myself taking notes like all the time. And fun fact, if I don't like you and I took a note about it, it's going down in history. So just know that. So the same goes with those you see as role models, though. Ask questions about their success story. Find out how they got to where they are. Take those notes. If you're not taking notes right now, maybe you don't find this to be relevant, but you should be, because obviously I took notes. I took all these notes, and I find that all of this stuff is relevant. And even though I'm looking back at the people who've, like getting all nostalgic of all the people who've helped me get to where I am, not that I'm at the end of my success story, but the people that have helped me, I'm thinking about all the other people that I'm meeting along the way that I want to learn from. So you should continue to do that as well. And be cognizant of your existing network. Know who you know. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in just a minute when I go over networking. And by we, it's probably just going to be me because you guys don't chime in a whole lot. But we'll hit the more you are aware of, or the more someone is aware of you and your abilities and your effectiveness at what you're doing, the more they're going to want to be a part of that, and the more they're going to be able to help mentor you. So you're also going to want to recognize the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. So, and I use this as an example. Mentors can give advice, but they can't give you a new job or a raise. Now, your sponsor can be a mentor, but just because they're a sponsor does not mean they are a mentor. So just because your boss is saying, hey, you did a great job, try it this way, their success is dependent upon yours. So therefore, they may not necessarily be a mentor for you. They may just be a sponsor. And another thing is that sponsors tend to only be in your life for a season of your life. And while mentors are really, they could be someone that's going to be a part of your life forever and ever. Well, maybe not forever, maybe probably until you die. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Know who you can trust and not necessarily that you can't trust your boss. That's not what I'm saying at all. But know if this is someone that's going to really help you succeed. If someone came to you and said, hey, I can put you in a position that's going to skyrocket you, are they going to be supportive of you? Is that where, or are they going to say, hey, no, that's not the right thing for you because I have something else in mind for you? So know what to look for in a mentor. Not every successful person is a good coach, by the way. You want to find someone who is genuinely passionate about helping others, and specifically about helping you. I mean, you don't want someone that's like, I'm going to mentor everybody. I'm basically a school teacher. I'm just going to tell everybody all the same things. And you know what? I'm going to throw spaghetti at the wall and whoever catches it. No, you want somebody who's specifically invested in your success. And you want to make sure that they are always connected. That's the kind of person that you're looking for. You don't want someone who's going to go and hide in a hole and never connects with other people. And again, we'll go over that more in the networking portion in just a minute. And you want to also find someone who is always thinking, like they always have these really crazy ideas and they're new and innovative. And it may be something that's been tried before, but maybe they're going to put a spin on it. But someone who is always thinking about the next thing. You also want someone who has a solid track record of success and failures. So if someone's fallen on their face, but they're still a success, that's huge, y'all. sorry, my schedule's up here again. That's huge. I mean, think about, our former president who had a DUI. My husband's had a DUI. He's one of the most successful people I know. There are things in our lives where we have to overcome those things, and it doesn't define who we are, but you also want someone who has overcome those things. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've had to make a whole bunch of mistakes and you have to know what they are, but don't be afraid of asking someone who has made a fool out of themselves and then got themselves back out of that situation.
Hey, Kim,
Just
I
wanted-
want to add in on that. That's so true. You have to own it. I myself have not had just one, but two DUIs, and I've filed bankruptcy in my life. But you have to be able to say, you know what? I made mistakes. How am I going to learn from them and move forward? So you hit the nail on the head with that. You got to own it.
I agree. And a lot of times that's going to take away that anxiety that you feel like, wow, this person is just like so over the top successful. I'm never going to be able to relate to them. But now you can, it's an even playing field, so to speak. You're never, my screen is all crazy. It's never too late to start being mentored. Another thing that I think is probably one of the biggest things is that you want someone who has the respect of their peers. If their peers are saying, yeah, they're a joke and everybody thinks that and everybody knows that, that's probably not going to be the person that you're going to want to emulate in the future, right? And another thing, and I can tell you this from very close friends of mine who were realtors before I ever got into this industry. I would hear them say, if I hear one more realtor on the other side of the deal, says they've been in this industry for 25 years and they know what they're doing, I'm going to quit. Okay, well, I get that, because here's the thing. 10 years of experience, 20 years of experience does not equate to mentorship. There are some companies that even require that you go through a mentorship program, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if the mentors are really willing to be invested into the people that are learning. But sometimes that's not a good fit. I think it's important that you realize that if someone's been successful for 10 years, but they only did the same thing that they did that first year and they never did anything different after that first year, they only have 1 year of experience. So just take that for what it is. 10 years experience may only actually be 1 year experience. So moving on, we're going to figure out how to pop the question. So you have to be prepared to ask for that mentorship. You have to, there's nothing wrong with coming with your hand out, if with the expectation that you're going to receive greatness. It doesn't hurt to ask. And you might be one of the many people that I've seen with really pretty jewelry on, and I say, hey, can I have that ring? That's probably inappropriate. My mom's she always told me that was rude. And it is. However, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? So, and it doesn't hurt to ask if you see someone that is just incredible and you want to emulate what it is that they've done to be successful. It doesn't hurt to ask for their help. So as you are trying to figure out how to ask someone to be a mentor, you have to be clear about what your goals are and why you think this person would be a good mentor. And maybe it's for, again, only a season in your life. Maybe maybe it is a boss, but maybe you want to turn that boss into a mentor, but maybe it's for a longer period, or maybe it's for one particular issue. But just keep that in mind, that you have to know, you have to be very clear what your goals are when you're coming to. You want to tell them what these are my SMART goals. I wrote them down. This is what I want to do. I want to do 5 million GCI in 1 year or 5 years or whatever that time frame is. And I see that you've done this. I see that you've been incredibly successful. I see these are the things that you're doing in the community. These are the things that I see have major success. But I'd love to hear what you feel like has been the biggest return on your investment of time, and how you've gotten to where you are. You're not showboating. You're not blowing smoke. You're telling them, I want to learn from you, and these are the reasons why I want to learn from you. And it's hard to tell somebody no when they are coming to you with all facts about how incredible they are, right? So just saying, that's a good way to get there. So you also want to be really clear about how often you want to meet. So you're setting expectations. Hey, if I could even still like an hour of your time once a month, once a quarter, 15 minutes a week. if you set really good expectations about what their time requirement or responsibility will be in this mentorship, it's going to help them be able to answer you yes or no, or this isn't for me, or I have somebody else that could help you that I also mentored years ago, and they're way more successful than I am, or whatever the case might be. So, and mention that you'll even put together the agendas, the questions, or you can even, ahead of time, you could even say, hey, I'd really like to learn about X, Y, and Z. Either could you come prepared with some like scenarios that you've had to deal with this, or can you tell me how to prepare for an in-depth conversation about this or some training about this? Well, setting that agenda and knowing and letting them know what the expectations are from you are really important. And finally, make sure that they're considering this an option, right? So you don't want to bombard someone and be like, hey, when you walked into that room wearing that hot pink coat, I knew I was going to stalk you and I was going to do everything you did. Don't do that. Make sure that they know that this is an option and not an obligation. So, but what are your responsibilities as a young gorilla? I think it's pretty much, it goes hand in hand with what the expectations are from that you're setting for the gorilla, the old gorilla, but they go hand in hand. So first, you want to remember what your goals are all the time. So as you're meeting with them, these are what my specific goals were. I wrote them down in the beginning. Now they can obviously evolve. I mean, all of our goals do over a period of time. I think they do. But if you mention your specific and achievable goals from the very beginning of the relationship, your mentor can help stack on the success stories and the experiences that have led to where they are and how they got to that same goal. And now you also want to meet consistently, and you want to, as you've already figured out how to meet because you set that expectation with your initial meeting. I don't know why my calendar keeps popping up here, you guys. I'm sorry. You have to make sure
dismiss all and it'll go away.
I'll do that next.
I'm just trying to help you out, Ken.
I'm not good at taking mentorship. Just kidding. So there is something in the chat. I see that right now. You are one of my mentors. Oh, shut up. Well, you. Okay, so Brittany actually is the one that got me into Sunbelt, though she's just being humble. Anyway, so moving on, being consistent and making sure that you are showing up when you've asked someone else to show up for you. Again, I come back to people are going to show up for you when you show up for them. So, and remember that, you know, how you meet is not really important. You can do a video conference. That's fine. And then maybe it evolves into coffee. Maybe it evolves into a love story that we've never heard of, and they could make a Disney cartoon out of it. Who knows? But you can start out small. Video is good. Be prepared and ask thoughtful questions. So again, these go hand in hand to what you setting those expectations with your mentor. But also sharing what you've learned over your experiences as you are learning to become an old gorilla, because you're not going to be young forever. As you're learning that, you can want to continue to share that experience and not work in a silo. And I will tell you, one of my mentors, Nan Foster, many of you probably know her if well, I think there's 10 of you, so at least 2 of you know her. So I was planning an event. It was one of my first things I was doing in this industry, and she called me out on something that I did not even know that I had done wrong. And she took me by the hand and she said, okay, girlfriend, let me just show you the ins and out of this jungle that you are entering into, because it's a whole nother world, this real estate world. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it can't be that crazy. She was right. And she's become one of my closest friends over time, because she's always willing to call me on my crap. Like 100% of the time she will call me. She's like, you know, you're crazy, right? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. Or why did you do it that way and not this way? So that to me has been the most beneficial, one of the most beneficial things is when someone can share what they've learned. And she's always done that for me. I have quite a few people have done that for me. Nick did it to me just now when he told me to dismiss all. Anyway, so show appreciation, right? So if someone's helped you get to where you are, wouldn't it make sense to say thank you, but even going a step further and making sure that they know in a special way that you appreciate them? Just don't forget to do that component, because that's a huge part of being a good mentee. And be open to getting feedback. Going back to my journalism years when I was an editor, and I would take the front page into the editor-in-chief and say, okay, this is what it is. And he would literally put a black X on it and make me turn around and start over. And okay, well, it's 30 minutes to deadline, start over, Kim. Okay, well, but the press is already running on half the paper, start over, Kim. Okay, I got this. I grew a very thick skin very quickly because I was very sensitive about like everything that I was doing. I was very passionate about my work. But you have to learn to be able to take constructive criticism and be able to say, okay, this person is not trying to hurt me. This is not a malicious thing that they're doing. They want to see me succeed. And these are the steps that they had to do. These are the steps that they had to take to get to where they are. And they've already gone down this other path that I was going down that didn't work. So just keep that in mind. Be able to take criticism. Now, this is my favorite part about this presentation. I reached out to, when I say top producers, I reached out to people who I saw were really successful in our area. Nick, you're one of them, but I forgot to put it on here. But just so you know, Joanne, it was you. You were the one that he said were, it was really nice, everything he said, but I forgot to put it on here. Anyway, so when I say top producers, I thought of people that were very successful at what they are doing, not necessarily people who have the best GCI, or because I don't know any of that stuff. I just saw people in our industry who are successful, and I said, I want to know how you got there, who's your mentor, and why do you think that they're successful? So I was going to read a couple of these to you because I think they're very valuable. Jennifer Wolf, who is a Coldwell Banker realty agent in Fort Walton Beach, said Casey Tetman, who was also with CBR in Fort Walton Beach. And she said, trust, that's the reason. Not only because she's my partner, but she genuinely wants the best for every situation. If I ever need anything, mess up, or can't figure out a dilemma, she reminds me to breathe and push forward. Jennifer knows what a mentor is. She knows the exact definition, because this is what it is. It doesn't have to be someone who like hand holds you. It could be someone that you turn to whenever you do need something. Jessica Bishop with Thrive Mortgage is who AJ Burson with Levin Rinke, who I don't know if you realize are in two separate areas of our industry. One is with mortgage and one is with real estate. But AJ said, I wouldn't be where I am without Jessica, period. Her background in real estate prior to lending makes her knowledge unmatchable. She cares about her agents and her clients on a level that I've never seen from another lender. She's always there to back me up and help me be the most successful that I can be. And I've seen that. I've seen Jessica have a conversation with AJ, who may or may not have a little bit of a temper, and calm him down just like that, because that is just the way she works. Like, she just has that ability to calm people down. I have a few more, so stick with me. Christy Miller with Keller Williams Gulf Coast said Alexis Bowen. And I thought this one was really unique because she said, I wouldn't say she directly mentored me, but I do everything possible to attend whenever she is sharing her expertise, whether it be in classes or seminars. She has such a great expertise and a way of putting words. And I agree with that. And I'm so glad that she said Alexis, because Alexis is not one of my mentors. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I first met Alexis, I was like, wow, she's a bulldog. Like, she's kind of mean, and I would not mess with her. But you know what? I wouldn't mess with her because she knows what she's doing. She's a renowned author. She's a huge success, not only here, but known across the country for she's a real estate mogul. I think I'm saying that word right. I don't know. If I'm not, then you can say I called her a monster, whatever. So, but she has mentored me. She's called me on the phone before and said, Kim, what are you doing? And I think that's so great that someone in her position, who is a renowned author, would take the time out to call me and congratulate me on winning an award or say, why are you doing it that way? And that, I mean, while it's hard to receive that kind of feedback sometime when it's not an award, it's also someone that wants to see you succeed, because her success is not contingent on mine. My success has nothing to do with hers. Her reaching out to me and helping me through that path, that's huge. So Nick Kane Bailey, who is also a CBR, but in PACE, he said Angela Howman. Now, Nick's been in the industry, I think, for about 3 years. And if you know him, you know what it is to like smile at somebody like constantly, because like you can't look at him and him not smile. It's just the way it is. He's a lot like Brian, Nick. He's like just like from ear to ear, he's always smiling, always upbeat. He said she was always so upbeat and always asking what I was doing to bring in business. She helped me with contracts and how to write them. She also helped me deal with realtors when they were not so friendly. So obviously he learned something from his mentor, because he is always like this ray of sunshine. And I don't know if it has anything to do with him having 3 kids and a beautiful wife, but he is always like emulating what his mentor showed him. Alyssa Sorrells, who is with Remax Infinity, said Mark Cruz. I don't know who that is, but it's somebody that helped her. And she said he's a top producing agent in Denver. When I was rebranding, he'd helped me learn to focus on my strengths and not my weaknesses. And that's huge. I mean, I've had somebody do that to me before, but it was actually one of those tests and that you take, and it wasn't really like an actual person. Anyway, so I started small, doing the things I did well and adding one thing I was weak at until I wasn't anymore. And I just kept adding things. It's pretty cool. Okay, I got 2 more to read, and then I'll move on to the last little bit. And Victoria Pitts with Levin Rinke said Denise Ken, who just for that name beside her name right here, or the brokerage beside her name, that's her brokerage, Scenic Realty Group. She just opened that up, and that speaks to her success in a whole, right? So she's her own broker now. She's been an exceptional mentor to me throughout my journey in the real estate industry. She has consistently gone above and beyond to make herself available to answer my questions and provide invaluable advice. And Travis Crow said Levada McIntyre. And Levada was actually named Realtor of the Year from the Pensacola Association of Realtors last year. She was just on a top producers panel last year. But I mean, this last week or 2 weeks ago, she don't have time for anybody, you know, like she actually does. I'm saying like, it would seem like she wouldn't have time for anybody, but what Travis writes is she actually gave me my first deal. There's a typo there. Sorry about that. She actually gave me my first deal and helped me through the process. She taught me to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. She pushed me to join the committees. He's on the YPN committee with me, by the way, to be the difference, not just talk about it. I probably would not still be a realtor without her guidance and positivity. And that's what we need, people. We need people that are going to take the time and invest in us. And this is what this is all about. So now that you're on the path and you know what you're looking for, how are you going to, like, you know what to look for when you're looking for a mentor, because I just told you. Now, the next part of that is getting out there and actually doing it. So you want to find an old gorilla that is always connected, someone that is in the industry, but also in the community. So I have, I have some notes here. And again, I don't know if you guys remember from last week, I told you like, this isn't like a presentation that's going to wow you. This is a presentation that I can send out to you after the fact so that you can say, oh, refer to this for the rest of my life. This is not something to wow you. But so to find a mentor you can trust, and these are some tactics, but you can attend events hosted by chambers. You can do all kinds of things, but the first thing you need to do is have a self-check. What are you trying to get out of the networking experience? Well, you're trying to find a mentor. You're trying to find someone to help push you along in your career. Now, here's the thing. That might be from another realtor, but it might not be. So you have to gauge when you're doing that self-check. Do I want to be in a room full of other realtors who are going to be able to give me knowledge about and experiences that they've had? Or do I want to get into a room of people who need realtors and network with them? Or do I want to get into a room of maybe it's a mentorship program? So you have to like do a self-check. What are your goals for going out and networking? And I even put on here, are you looking for a significant other in the guise of networking? So Second, do you want to do something that's established or something big or something small? When I was first started in business development and engineering, which is how I ended up here, crazy enough. But when I first started, I didn't have any mentors really. I had one person who was I was in engineering, she was in an architectural world. I met her, I took her to lunch. My son just arrived home, so if you hear him in the background, he's like, "Mom, Mom." Anyway, I had one person and she was like, they had this group that's really good about marketing, but they're in the rest of the country and they're not here. And I'm like, why don't we start a group here? How do we start a group here so that we can get some training and we can get some mentorship? And so we did. We chartered an entire organization. It's called the Society for Marketing Professionals. And so the Society for Marketing Professional, I don't remember, the SMPS Society. Yeah, there we go. No, whatever. Anyway, you get it. So we chartered an entire organization and in a year and had all these members, and then we were coming together and doing, if you know the engineering world, you know what like requests for proposals and requests for information, requests for quotes and all of that stuff. We were coming together and we were getting new business because we were able to learn from each other. So maybe that's the small thing that you do. Maybe you start something and it doesn't have to be like something that grows into something big. Maybe it's coffee. Kim Gordon, who is an agent in Milton, she started doing coffee on Thursdays, and a huge group of us that are in all sorts of the industry, or all parts of the industry, come together on the morning and have coffee. And there's realtors from all kinds of brokerages, and we just come together just to sit and have coffee. That's small, but it started really small with just a few of us, and then it grew to something bigger. Anyway, so make it your own. And after you try a few places and networking, be sure that you enjoy the experience. Make sure that it's something that it brings you closer to your end goal. The joy in the journey is what it's all about, y'all. Because if you died at that networking meeting, like people are like, "Yep, they were at the Optimist Club and they passed out and died," and you're not even like an optimistic person, like you'd be forever known as having died at the Optimist Club. It's not a good example because I think the Optimist Club is like a really cool organization. So please don't be offended by that. Anyway, so I have on here a list of places where you could even start in Northwest Florida networking, or just kind of like to get your juices flowing. And I'm going to send this out to you. It's just some places that I found. I have visited or done most, if not all of these. If you have questions about any of these, when you receive the list and you're like, how did you get involved in this? Let me tell you. Just reach out to me and I'm happy to give you a success story or a failure story, one of the two. And I also just wanted to throw this out there. I'm not going to say anybody's names, but I'm just going to put that out there. It's a special thanks to the people who've gotten me to where I am. And I'd love if you guys have any questions. Nope, no questions in the chat. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? Any success stories, anything, any mentors that they have that have helped them along the way that could give us some insight? No one. Everyone has worked in. Oh, Nick, you're on here. Hey, Brett.
I get it, and I got another one of those that's full.
What did you say?
Always ask for good book recommendations. I think it's so helpful. And over the years, when I managed Texas Roadhouse before FedEx and before GRA, my mentors always told me good books. I'm happy to share that list with you, Kim. But I just can't stress that enough. I mean, there's a variety. It doesn't have to be self-help, but just feel good books too, So don't be scared to ask people about book recommendations.
So we're seeing still.
Were you saying something too? I thought I saw your lips moving. I can't hear you. I don't know what you're not plugging your microphone like me. I can hear you. You sound like a little mouse. in a hole far, far away. You know, I kind of regret making this list that's on the screen right now because you should definitely be on this list. Okay, yeah, I apologize. Yes, you are right. I'm going to re-edit. I'm actually going to re-record this entire broadcast so that we include Brittany on here. Nick, you're in a safari. Okay.
Trying out a new background, sorry.
I see that. Okay, guys. Well, if you don't have any additional questions, if you, I said I wanted to know how I did make, oh, I see that. Yes, you are right. You should have been on the list. I was actually going through my text messages of people. I was like, oh, well, clearly these are the people that have helped me in the past. So anyway, I appreciate you guys jumping on. Next week, we're going to be talking about how you get to become an old gorilla. That doesn't mean old as an age, it means old as in wise. And one more tidbit. Some people on this list are a lot younger than me, by the way. I don't know if you guys know Peyton Anderson, Nina Barrios, Michelle. They're all like, not to call anybody else out about being older, but they're all way younger than me. And they've taught me more about my industry, and Brittany too, than I probably would have ever learned on my own. So don't be afraid to ask someone if they're younger than you, or if they're in the newer in the industry than you. If you see their success, it's okay to ask for help from them too. And it actually evens the field so that they can come to you as they're seeking out new success stories. So anyway, that's a tidbit for this week. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you for joining me. I will see you soon.
Thank you, Cam.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.